Hello Blazers, it is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian. Hi guys, today welcome to a brand new video and welcome guys once again to the center of the beautiful city of Tbilisi, Georgia. That is correct guys, I don't know if you missed out on my last video, but I have left Russia for an indefinite period of time and I'm currently, based here. But in today's video guys, even though we have a lot of very cool stuff to look at, it's not really gonna be a walking tour in this video because I actually want to discuss a particular topic that a lot of people are asking me about right now, and that is what it's like to be a Russian abroad right now. Because as far as you guys understand, obviously, with the current situation in the world, the anti-Russian, or should I say Russophobic tendencies in the world have kind of skyrocketed. And from one point of view, I completely understand it, but from another point of view, of course, it kind of makes me sad and it affects me. You know, quite obviously, guys, I'm Russian, and just my experience and what I'm seeing right now being a Russian abroad in these current times, my experience is like the best thing I can talk about currently. So yeah, people, let's take a walk around the center of Tbilisi and talk about what it's like to be a Russian right now, and if people basically hate me for being Russian or not. Now, one thing I would like to point out before we get into this video is that I'm not like gonna complain for people not liking me, because again, I understand it, I totally get it. And also I want to just, clarify that a lot of people actually that I've met here, these are not only just people that I've met online that already know me, who are fans of mine. Of course they're gonna fucking like me, right? But I'm talking about like the random, local Georgians that I've met here, like going out to bars and whatever. You know, Georgians have a reputation for being like the most welcoming people ever. And I'm gonna be honest, it's true. Georgia is probably the place where I've gotten like most drinks bought for me by locals. I don't even know what's going on. It's crazy. So yeah, I just want to clarify, I'm not gonna be like saying that everybody hates Russians right now, It's actually something that is going around in Russian propaganda right now a lot. Essentially, Russian TV is saying that, everybody abroad hates Russians, right? Nobody likes us anymore, and we should, unite under our glorious leader. That's kind of what the propaganda is saying. That is not the point of view I'm gonna be regurgitating in this video at all. But still, from my experience being here for the last couple of days, almost a week at this point, yeah, there's been cases where there's been both welcoming people and a few situations where they were not that welcoming. Okay, so for example, yesterday, Bolden Bankrupt is actually in town right now as well. He's here in Tbilisi, and we met up yesterday and we went for a coffee, and then we were walking outside on the streets in the very center of Tbilisi, and we were actually walking by the parliament of Georgia, and there was like a small sort of, protest there, if I could call it that. It was like maybe like 5 people that were just standing there with like a banner saying Georgia stands with Ukraine, and also on the banner they had Saakashvili right next to Zelensky, which I think, as far as I understand, Saakashvili is kind of like an oppositional figure here, and not everybody really likes him. They were basically just standing there kind of, not saying anything, but there was a woman there that stood with like a banner, with that quote about the Russian battleship, and she was basically screaming, go fuck yourself. And me, I would just walk by that, right? But Bolden Bankrupt decided that he would engage in conversation, which was a mistake, but he did. Bold started, responding to her in Russian, and he was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? I guess he just tried to, provoke a reaction of some sort. And since Bold spoke Russian, right, that woman immediately got super hostile, started walking towards him and saying, basically Russian, fuck you, go fuck yourself, iди nahuy. And Bold is just like, he's like, I'm not even Russian, I'm English. And the second that woman heard that he's actually not Russian and that he's British, she was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I thought you were Russian. What? How does that make it okay, right? So now that you found out he's English, then you're sorry, but if you found out that he was Russian, then, fuck him. She would double down on it, essentially. And we both understood the situation, and Bold actually got pretty pissed. Lashed out on the woman a little bit as well. He was like, no, fuck you told me to go fuck myself. And it was crazy because obviously Bold is like the kind of person who has love for Russian people, for regular Russian people anyway, and he as well got kind of a little bit triggered by that phrase where she was like, oh, you're English, I'm sorry, but if you were Russian, fuck you. So yeah, that was pretty crazy, but that's like the only like very hardcore example of somebody like hating on Russians, period, on every single Russian, no matter what their opinion is, right? There was also another time where I slightly got kind of a strange vibe from somebody. Is actually I was hanging out with a local here and other friends, but anyway, we were at a bar, right, and I was just sitting there, speaking English to people, and a bunch of Georgian people came up to me and asked me where I'm from. We started conversation. I told them that I'm from Russia. Then a girl I was talking to, a Georgian girl, a local here, I was talking to her in English, and then she just switched to Russian herself. But yeah, I'm sitting there at the bar talking to this Georgian girl who switched to Russian herself. I was speaking Russian, and this like drunk Georgian guy who was nearby, who actually talked to like a minute ago, he's like, hey, don't speak Russian here, only speak English. Which was like, I don't know. I totally understand that some people here might, feel annoyed if a Russian just approaches them and immediately starts speaking Russian because they just assume they should know it, right? That's like a thing that, as far as I understand, people don't really like it. It's not really like good manners to speak Russian immediately, especially in these tense times, right? But that girl switched to Russian herself, so yeah, it was just kind of a weird moment right there. There was another sort of interesting situation. I wouldn't even call this hateful or anything. It was just kind of funny. Once I called a cab here in the streets and I entered the taxi, and immediately, as soon as I answered, the driver's like, "Excuse me, where are you from?" And I'm like, "Russia." And he's like, "Do you like Putin?" And I was like, eh. And he's like, okay. So it's interesting, right? What if I told him I did? He would not let me into his cab? I mean, it's really interesting, right? But yeah, of course, here in Georgia and pretty much like any place in the world right now, there is a bit of an anti-Russian sentiment. Like in Europe, in some establishments, there's like signs saying, Russians not welcome here, whatever. I've never seen that here, but I have seen like graffitis on the streets and stuff saying, Russians go back home or whatever. Which is, I mean, fair enough. Again, like I already said in my video that I released previously, so many Russians coming here actually increased the rent prices and everything a lot, and it's like an inconvenience, obviously, for the locals here. So I totally get it. But yeah, another thing that my friends sort of ran into here is that sometimes when you try to rent an apartment and you call somebody up, the landlords say basically that they do not accept not only Russians but also people from Belarus, and sometimes they say they don't even accept people from Ukraine, which is really weird. At the same time, it's also interesting because they raise the rent prices because of all the people who came, but then they don't even want to rent the place to those people who can get those apartments. So I really don't get it. As well, there's a lot of difficulty with getting bank accounts for Russians now. It used to be super easy here. I'm actually having some trouble with this. I actually already got denied by one bank with no reason whatsoever. And you guys gotta understand, like, I actually have like a business and everything, like a steady income, and I have like all the documents to prove it. I'm like a good customer, basically. I don't understand why they don't want my money, basically. From like a capitalist point of view, it doesn't really make much sense to me because, like, yeah, you have so much people coming in, and of course the demand of people who are trying to open up a bank account is gonna be increasing like crazy because Russians' cards are just not working. Isn't this like good for banks, and shouldn't they accept everybody? Like, yeah, go ahead, increase our capitalization. I don't really get it. So yeah, that is basically what's going on here in Georgia as far as, the Russian experience goes, the experience of being Russian. But also I would like to say that I definitely did notice an increase in, like, let's say, Russophobia or an anti-Russian sentiment in the western part of the world as well, online. So for example, if you go on like Reddit's like r/world news, which is a subreddit that shares news about Russia and Ukraine all the time, like recently, just as an example, I've seen like an article about Russia, sanctioning the Western governmental officials, not allow them to go to Russia, and like, which is like a dumb sanction, but like the replies to that thread are just so like crazy. I mean, literally every comment is like, what the fuck is there to see in Russia? That country is fucking a shithole and it's dog shit. Like, oh no, anyway, fucking Reddit, basically. I fucking hate Reddit at this point, honestly. Basically, all of them are like acting that like Russia's like a complete shithole with nothing to see, which just could not be further from the truth, right? And it's just like, yeah, somehow it's cool to say now. I don't know. I really don't fucking get it. And yeah, there's just like a ton of reports of weird things going on in Europe, which honestly, I'm not like 100% sure about most of these because these might just be like fake and again, used as a tool of propaganda, like, look, the West is dumb, what are they doing? That kind of point of view. But I've heard like there's like stories of like, works of like Dostoevsky being banned in certain universities in the West, which is insane because he was literally a fucking dissident. Like, what is this? Yeah, you guys, you should ban Solzhenitsyn's works as well. That would show him. Again, I don't know 100% if that's even real or not, but yeah, it's me. What's up? I'm actually vlogging right now. Yeah. Sorry guys, get interrupted there for a second. I just got recognized by a fan here who's also Russian from St. Petersburg. There's a lot of that here, by the way. I get recognized by Russians who moved a lot here as well. But yeah, I'm saying that, like, I don't know if those stories are completely true, or again, if I just got fucking pranked by this information war, but if that's really going on, that is fucking dumb. And yeah, I just, like, the amount of just posts hating and shitting on Russian people, regular Russian people who have nothing to do with this, every single day has skyrocketed. And it's like, it hurts. So yeah, you know, overall this is just a very tense time right now, and again, I totally understand why a lot of people might not be super welcoming to Russians, especially in Georgia, because, you know, Russia had a war with Georgia, and that as well kind of ruined the relations between the countries. Let's say it's been kind of slowly healing over time, maybe not on the governmental level, but just on the level of regular people's relations. But of course, the situation in Ukraine has, it's radicalized a lot of people, and a lot of people just shitting on Russia willy-nilly. Hey, I mean, guys, if you hate me immediately for who I am and the country that I was born and grew up in, sure, go ahead. I mean, there's not that much I can do to change your mind. But if you're a person who understands that there's nuance, and that even though I was born in Russia, I don't really stand for what is going on, and I'm not responsible for it, so then we can be friends, I guess. But yeah. Anyways, guys, that is pretty much all I wanted to say in this video. I just wanted to make a video about this topic because it's something that affects me daily now. It's something that's on my mind all the time, and there's probably gonna be some people who are gonna be triggered and they're gonna say, you know, this dude is playing the victim while Ukrainians get bombed or whatever. Please. Again, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but as far as my channel right now, guys, expect for me to make a bunch of videos traveling around Georgia, properly exploring the city of Tbilisi, giving you guys a nice little tour. But yeah, anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, then please make sure to slap the like button on it as well, guys. If you want to support me additionally, go down to the description. There's my crypto wallet. You can donate to it if you want to support me. And yeah, this is gonna be pretty much it for today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.